Developments today in the crisis in the Middle East. Israel says a military mission in the Gaza Strip led to the death of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar. Officials believe he was the mastermind behind the October 7th massacre in Israel that led to the deaths of 1,200 people, making it the worst terrorist attack in the country's history. Israel's foreign minister says Sinwar's death creates a possibility for the immediate release of the 101 hostages being held by Hamas. Eyewitness News reporter Josh Einiger just returned from Israel in the last week. And Josh, what are the hostage families feeling right now? Do they see this as good news?
Good news and scary news, Dave. I'll get to both in a second. No question, this is a key inflection point for hostage families because on the one hand, Yahya Sinwar was seen as perhaps the biggest impediment to getting a deal done to release the hostages. But on the other, his strategy had been to hold them alive as leverage. And with his death, there are now intense fears about what might happen to them. One of those hostages still alive is 23-year-old Omer Nutra of Plainview, Long Island. He just celebrated his second birthday in captivity. He's one of the 7 Americans being held. Only 4 of them, including Omer, are believed to be still alive. And after 13 months of on-again, off-again, stalled-out talks to release hostages like Omer, today his parents released an urgent plea for the negotiating teams to get back to the table and try to make progress. But along with the tremendous hope today's developments have brought, it also comes with an unbearable amount of fear. Fear of what might happen now to Omer at the hands of a terror group with no real leader.
We're very, very worried about any kind of, reckless response. We're talking about Hamas battalions being disintegrated, no central command, possibly each their own, And of course, we're extremely worried about the consequences possible for the hostages. That's why we're calling on all sides to be proactive and not to wait for any impending disaster, but to be proactive and to determine, the outcomes of today's event and not to wait for things to just unroll. And that's really our plea today.
You see the number on their chest, 377 days they have been going without their son, Omer. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today offered amnesty to people in Gaza who might be holding hostages. Officially 101 people, but as many as half of that number might already have died. Dave?
Oh, your heart goes out to all of the families involved. Tell me, what do we know about Sinwar's time in Israel and what led up to the cold-blooded attacks on October 7th?
There really is a cruel irony to the Sinwar story, Dave. He'd spent the better part of 2 decades in an Israeli prison in the 90s and the early 2000s, where he was serving a life sentence for the murder of 2 Israeli soldiers. But it was in that prison that an observant dentist treating Sinwar spotted symptoms of a brain tumor, which Israeli doctors removed in emergency surgery that saved his life. He was later then released as part of a prisoner exchange between Israel and Hamas, and Sinwar then started down the long road of planning and then executing the surprise attack of October 7th, including the slaughter of 1,200 Israelis, the capture of 250 civilians, and the subsequent war that led to the deaths of 40,000 of Sinwar's own people. He is undeniably Israel's Osama bin Laden, but while there is much rejoicing on the streets of Tel Aviv and Jerusalem tonight, the history that led this country to this point, the reckoning over the actions of the past, will surely never go away.